Welcome into the Shot Show. I'm your host, Wyatt Shot, and today we are talking about the Red River Shootout, known by no other name on this show. It is my favorite game of the year, Texas versus Oklahoma in Dallas at the Texas State Fair. Texas State Fair is awesome, by the way. If you've never been, you can get the most ridiculous types of food. You get fried Oreos. You can honestly get fried anything. You'll probably find more things that haven't been fried, you'll find more things that have been fried than haven't been fried at the Texas State Fair. Just if you want to destroy your diet, or you just don't have a diet and you don't care, Texas State Fair is the place to be. But the most exciting thing that goes on is the game that takes place in the Cotton Bowl at 2:30 p.m. Now, unfortunately, not an 11 a.m. kick anymore, which makes me a little sad. I love when that game was an 11 a.m. kick. Got to start the day off, see what kind of Saturday we're going to have. If Texas won, it was going to be a good Saturday. If Oklahoma won, it was going to be a sad Saturday for me. Yes, let's get it out of the way. I am a Texas fan. I'm going to do my best to avoid any kind of personal bias in this game. In fact, after the Florida game last week, I might be a little biased towards hating Texas because, man, there are a lot of things to be critical about with this specific Texas team. But let's get into it. Of course, like I just mentioned, Texas is coming off that Florida loss. They're 3-2 on the season with losses to the Gators and to the Buckeyes in week 1 against Ohio State. And now their backs are really up against the wall. They can't afford to drop another one if they want to stay in not only the SEC title race, but really if you want to get to the playoff at this point, because I do think that you'll start to see some 3-loss teams, and if you're going to see a 3-loss team, it's going to be a brand like Texas or like, let's say, Ohio State somehow drop 3 games this year. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying if a 3-loss team were to get in, it would be from either the SEC or the Big Ten, and most likely it wouldn't be a Kentucky or a Rutgers. It would be a Texas or an Ohio State or a Michigan or an Alabama. You know, those big brands that just kind of elevate them into playoff status. Because, you know, that's how the committee does things. It's not the right way. It shouldn't be like that, but that's just how the things go. Let's get started in this breakdown, and I'm going to go position group by position group. And right now, the first one that I'm going to do is the offensive line for both teams. Really the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. To start off, let's talk about the Texas front because it was really, really bad against Florida. And this is a group that held up really well in pass protection against Ohio State. And as a Texas fan, I kind of held on to that. I was optimistic. Arch was the thing that kind of really held us back in week 1. But that wasn't the case against Florida. In Florida, Arch did everything he could to propel Texas to a win, and the offensive line seemed to be fighting him tooth and nail every step along the way to prevent Texas from winning. They got completely destroyed the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball for 15 yards with their running backs. 11 carries for 15 yards at the University of Texas is just disgusting, much less anywhere else. And so they have to be better against Oklahoma because Oklahoma's got some dudes up front. They are nasty on the defensive line of scrimmage, and they're going to get eaten alive if they perform the way they did against Florida. On the road in the Swamp, a 60% pressure rate, the highest in the country for that week, and Arch Manning got eaten alive. He took some huge shots. I guarantee you that he's still feeling the effects of those. I know that he's not injured going into this game, but if Arch Manning takes as many hits as he did last week, this week, then we're going to see a situation where he might have to come out of the game because there's no way that you can hold up against that much. Moving on, I think that Texas is going to jog out a different starting 5 than what we saw last week. We saw Connor Stroh get the start once again. I think he's going to get scratched. I think the coaching staff has realized that he's just not really playable at this point at left guard. Right now, the only guys that are locked in are Trevor Gooseby at left tackle, most likely Brandon Baker at right tackle, and then DJ Campbell will still be your right guard. But you could see some flip-flopping with the center position and the left guard position. So Cole Hudson started this year at center, but he's been a spot player for the most of his career at guard. He started all 12 games at right guard in 2022 as a true freshman with Hayden Connor at left guard. But then in 2023, he got benched for DJ Campbell. And he just kind of was like that swingman 6th guy that you could play on the offensive line. Ton of experience, a solid player. And that's kind of why they put him at center in the first place. But the offensive line has been so bad, especially at left guard. I could see them kicking him out to left guard and starting Connor Robertson, the backup center, for this Oklahoma game. It would actually be his 3rd start in Red River, both in 2023 and in 2024. Jake Majors got hurt. In 2023, it was a middle-of-the-game substitution. But in 24, Majors was hurt going into this, and Robertson played. And so we're going to see, again, maybe a shift up at the offensive line, because if Texas rolls out the same guys that they did last week, they could get eaten alive. I mean, Oklahoma's defensive line has so many good players. You have R. Mason Thomas, you have Jaden Jackson, you have Dominic Williams, you have I can't remember the kid's name, but I mean they've got David Stone, the former 5-star interior defensive lineman David Stone. So many different guys on this front that Oklahoma can disrupt games with, get to the quarterback, they can stop the run, they can really do a little bit of everything. And that's what is so scary for Texas in this game, is that you've seen your weakness this entire year be your offensive line. Neto Umeozulu is another guy for Texas on the offensive line that we could see play a little bit at left guard. He's kind of in the doghouse right now. He hasn't played since the San Jose State game, week 2. And he was the projected starter going into this year. So Connor Stroh was kind of a surprise guy. Like the week before the Ohio State game, they're like, hey, Connor Stroh's really coming along. He's going to start. We're like, cool. Connor Stroh, he must be a bad dude if he's starting over Neto, who is projected to be the starter the entire offseason. Turns out Neto just must be in the doghouse, or he's just not very good, because we've seen the stroke really can't play yet. Like he's just not there yet as a player to play SEC level football. And they gave him the nod over Neto. So that either says Neto's pretty bad too, or Neto's got some off-the-field stuff going on that's prevented him from playing. I digress. Oklahoma offensive line, though, is another case in and of itself. They're missing some guys. Jacob Sexton's out. Michael Fasusi, the true freshman 5-star, has kind of been battling an injury since the Michigan game. I think he got his ankle rolled up on, so he's trying to battle back from that. He's expected to be back for this Texas game, and interestingly enough, his recruitment came down to Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma edged out Texas in that one and won it, which was a massive win for them and still is. Texas wants Fasusi right now. He would probably be starting at right tackle, maybe over Brandon Baker. If not, he'd be starting somewhere else because he's just that good of a player. So Oklahoma's got the recruiting edge on that one. Fabici is a veteran guy that they've been starting, and then they got the 2 transfers at center and tackle who have been serviceable. This was a huge upgrade compared to last year, where Oklahoma's offensive line is honestly in a similar spot to where Texas is now, where it's just not playable. They don't have the guys there to get it done. We'll see what the offensive line looks like for Oklahoma, but I think this Texas defensive line can get after them a little bit. They're going to definitely do better than what they did against Florida, because that Florida offensive line really stepped up and played to their preseason projection. But Murad Watson, Alex January, Cole Brevard, Travis Shaw, those guys should have a much better week. And then Colin Simmons and Trey Moore have been really good in the run for the most part this season. There was a possession in that Florida game where Colin Simmons had 3 straight tackles for losses to shut down the Florida drive. And they stopped running it his way, because why would they? And so Colin Simmons has to be a disruptor once again if Texas wants to find success. And the defensive linemen have to fill in gaps and allow their linebackers to get downhill. Anthony Hill led the team with 14 tackles against Florida, but they all came significantly past the line of scrimmage, where Jaden Ball had a head of steam and he was able to hit Anthony Hill and fall forward for a ton of carries. Texas' defense did not tackle very well against Florida, and they're going to have to do better this week if they want to hang with OU. Now, we can get into some more exciting stuff, and that is the quarterback room. And look, I'll talk about Mateer and if he's going to play or not. I've heard all week all these different things about the Chipotle worker saying he's going to play, the message boards, the TexAgs message boards saying he's going to play. Guys, we've been down this road before. We saw it in 2022 with Dylan Gabriel. He says, I'm going to give it a shot. He's listed as probable. He's off the injury report. And then he's suited up an hour before the game. And then 30 minutes to kick off, and he's in street clothes. And Davis Bevel gets the start, and things just go downhill. Texas wins 49-0 that day. And so I think this is all a smoke show. I'm not convinced that Mateer's going to play. I know some of the Oklahoma insiders are hinting at it. Man, even if he does play, he's coming off of a hand surgery from about 2 weeks, a thumb surgery that is on his throwing hand. I just don't know if you really want him to play. You're an undefeated team, and I know you want to win Red River really bad. Everyone wants to win Red River really bad. You just have to think of your long-term health of your quarterback, long-term health of your team. Give him an extra week to heal up, because you still got a gauntlet of a schedule coming after Texas. And Texas is down compared to what you thought they'd be in the preseason. So just roll out Michael Hawkins and try to win it. That's what I would do. I'm not saying you're playing to lose or anything, but I think you are playing for the longevity. It's a long season. If you win a national championship, you got to win 17 games now. I just think it's in the best interest of Oklahoma to not rush Mateer out there. I'm going to do this breakdown assuming that Hawkins plays. I'll give a prediction for if Mateer plays, and I'll give a prediction for if Hawkins plays, because I think there's that big of a gap in between the two quarterbacks. For Texas, though, Arch needs to run the ball on the first play of the game. Give him a quarterback power, a quarterback zone. Run him on the first play of the game, because when he gets popped, when he gets tackled, when he gets hit, it kind of wakes him up a little bit. Because he starts games so slow. He's in this lull to start football games. He's in his head a little bit. It's an emotional time. You're a starting quarterback for the first time in college football, and you're playing some big-time games. You're a little nervous. You're a little shaky. Go out there and get hit, get fired up, and I think that he's responded well every time that's happened. That's happened in the Florida game. He started off cold in the first quarter, He kind of got his bell rung a little bit because his offensive line played so bad. And then he locked in. He played pretty damn good in the second half, and he was the reason Texas had a chance to go tie that thing up at the end of regulation. Arch has to do a good job, though, of getting the ball out quick and get it in out accurately. His short and intermediate game is not his strength. He wants to throw the ball deep. He has a very accurate deep ball, but he needs to play to the strength of his offensive line, which is none. And so they have to get the ball out quickly, get it to their playmakers, get it to Ryan Wingo, get it to DeAndre Moore, get it to Emmett Mosley, and see what they can do with it. I think they're much more comfortable running some of that quick game stuff now that Emmett Mosley is back. He's the best blocking receiver on this roster. And so I think you're going to see a lot more quick game with Texas, especially to Emmett Mosley's side. Speaking of the wide receivers, Oklahoma's got some dudes. Much better at the wide receiver position than they have been in recent years. This is probably the best group they've had since Hollywood Brown and CeeDee Lamb and some of those guys, and Theo Weiss. This is a really, really talented receiver room, led by Deion Burks, who is the transfer from Purdue from 2 years ago. Got banged up last year, didn't see him much. He did not get to play in Red River. This will be his first Red River and a chance to go out there and make a splash, because I think he's a really, really talented receiver. I also think that the Keontez Lewis injury was really unfortunate, just so silly with the brick wall at the back of the end zone, and he bangs his head. It's really unfortunate. I don't think he needs to rush back. That thing looked pretty gruesome. I think he needs to take a week off. And then Sategna was a great pickup from Arkansas, and he's your leading receiver right now in terms of yards. He's got 3 touchdowns as well. He's a stud. Y'all hit on him in the portal. And then Jaron Kanak has been a revelation. I was super skeptical of this move at the time, but it's paid off big time. For sure. It's paid off huge for Oklahoma. He's a really good receiving threat. He has some question marks in the blocking game, both passing and running, but it's way better than what you had last year, because tight end was probably the worst position group on the team last year, and you had Jackson Arnold at quarterback. And so I think that adding Jaron Kanak to that tight end room has been a nice improvement. Texas's wide receivers, they are a very, very young group, but they've gotten better as the years progress. That Ohio State game was really bad. I think part of the reason Arch couldn't find any kind of rhythm on offense was because the receivers were so sporadic and inconsistent with their routes, and the timing was off. That group has gotten better. Ryan Wingo's had a good 2 weeks. DeAndre Moore had a good 2 weeks after he came back from injury. I'm excited to see if some of the freshmen can get some burn this game. I want to see Khalil Lockett. I want to see Jimmy French. I want to see Michael Terry. Not all of them, but can I get one of them? Because I think those guys are really special with the ball in their hands, and that's exactly what Texas needs right now. The running back rooms have been weaknesses for both of these schools. The running backs just have not been very good at all. We'll see. I just don't think that we're going to see a lot of explosive runs in this one. They'll try to establish the run, especially Oklahoma will get creative. If Hawkins plays, they're going to run the ball a ton. It's just I don't think they're going to get anything going. The offensive line isn't good enough. They're going to have to get really creative, and they've tried that in 2022 and 2024 with the run game when they didn't have their starting quarterback, and it didn't work out well. So we'll see how that goes for Oklahoma. Keys to the game for OU is don't turn the ball over. You really, really need to protect the ball, because if you give Texas extra possessions and you give a struggling offense more confidence, that's how you lose in a much larger fashion. Force Arch Manning into 3rd and long and turn him over. That has been the recipe for Ohio State. That was the recipe for Florida, and it reaped great results. So if you can get Arch Manning in 3rd and long, you are doing something right. And then the keys for Texas is protect Arch Manning. Do everything in your power to protect Arch Manning and allow him to be a good football player, because he's played plus football every single game since UTEP. UTEP, he didn't play good football. He played good football against San Jose State, but he has really settled in since that UTEP games. He's played really good against Sam Houston. He played great. He didn't play great against Florida, but he played more than good enough to win the game against Florida. I think you got to give him time and let him be a baller, because I think that's just kind of what he is. He's similar to John Mateer in terms of, like, he's going to go make plays for you. He's a little sporadic. He's a little inconsistent, but he's going to go out there and be a gamer and make plays and make good things happen. In defense, you have to stack the box and then just be really sticky in coverage. If you can do that, then Oklahoma's going to have no chance of moving the ball the entire game, and then you'll be able to drop back in 3rd and long and throw out the NASCAR package and like Justice Terry come out of the field and be your 3-tech. Protect the ball, and for the love of God, stop committing so many pre-snap penalties. They're last in the SEC in penalties committed. They're one of the worst teams at committing penalties in all of college football. I'm not sure how much something like that changes in the middle of the season, especially in an environment like Red River against a team as quality as Oklahoma. I think Texas just is what they are in terms of penalties, but we'll see. They really need to limit the penalties, and if they don't, then Oklahoma is going to come get them. Score predictions. I think it could be the first team to 20 in this one. Although Red River is so wacky, you're always going to get some points from places you don't think you're going to get them, like a punt return or a kickoff return or a punt block. If Mateer plays, I think Oklahoma wins close, like 21-17 Oklahoma. If Mateer doesn't play, I think Texas can actually run with this one a little bit. I think it could get up to like 28-14, 28-17 in favor of the Longhorns. I don't know if Oklahoma can score really without Mateer on the field. I just think that Michael Hawkins isn't that good of a quarterback. I think he really struggles at whatever Oklahoma wants to do on offense. We'll see. I could be wrong. He wasn't able to do it last year. I don't know how much he's improved this year, and he's still behind a bad offensive line with no run game. If Hawkins plays, I got Texas. If Mateer plays, I got OU. I don't think Mateer's going to play, so I guess my official prediction is Texas to win and win this one by double digits. That would, of course, include Texas covering the 1.5, although that line has fluctuated throughout the week. We'll see. Regardless, that's been my breakdown of the Red River Shootout. I should say, I keep calling it the Red River Rivalry. It is the Red River Shootout. Has been, and always will be. I'm just being a little silly, but thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. How do you think this one's going to go? The game plays tomorrow at 2:30, so let me know quick. This has been The Shot Show. I'm your host, Wyatt Shot, and thank you for watching.